You're sitting there, probably ordering something online right now. Maybe it's arriving tomorrow, maybe even today. You click buy, and like magic, stuff just shows up at your door. But have you ever wondered how we got here? How did we go from driving to the mall and hoping they had your size to having literally everything delivered to your doorstep faster than you can finish a Netflix episode? Well, buckle up, because the story you're about to hear is absolutely bonkers. We're talking about a guy who started selling books out of his garage and somehow ended up controlling how half the planet shops, reads, watches movies, and even stores their photos. Oh, and he also decided to casually revolutionize space travel on the side. You know, just for fun. This is the story of Jeffrey Preston Bezos, and trust me, everything you think you know about success is about to get completely flipped upside down. Because this isn't just about building a company. This is about how one person fundamentally rewired the DNA of modern civilization. And yeah, I know that sounds dramatic, but stick with me here, because by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly how this guy didn't just change business, he changed everything. So let's rewind to 1994. The internet is this weird new thing that most people don't really get. You've got dial-up connections that sound like robots having an argument, and the idea of buying something online seems about as trustworthy as giving your credit card to a stranger in a dark alley. Enter Jeff Bezos, working at a hedge fund in New York, making serious money, living the Wall Street dream. But here's where it gets interesting. Bezos stumbles across this statistic that web usage is growing by 2,300% per year. Not 23%, 2,300%. Most people would look at that number and think, huh, that's neat. Bezos looked at that number and saw the future arriving at light speed. Now, here's the thing about opportunity. It doesn't knock politely and wait for you to answer. It kicks down your door and gives you about 5 seconds to decide if you're coming along for the ride or getting left behind. Bezos knew this was his 5 seconds, so he did something that most people would consider absolutely insane. He quit his cushy Wall Street job, packed up his life, and drove across the country to Seattle with his wife, while she drove and he wrote a business plan in the passenger seat. Think about that for a second. This guy literally wrote the blueprint for what would become one of the most valuable companies in human history while cruising down Interstate 80. But here's what's even crazier. He didn't even know what he was going to sell yet. He just knew he had to ride this internet wave before it crashed without him. After running through a list of possible products, books made the most sense. Why? Because there are millions of different books, way more variety than any physical store could ever stock. Plus, books are books. You don't need to try them on or kick the tires. Perfect for this weird new thing called online shopping that nobody really trusted yet. So in July 1994, Amazon.com was born in the garage of a rented house in Bellevue, Washington. And when I say garage, I mean garage. Bezos was literally packing books on a concrete floor using door desks, because actual desks were too expensive. His first desk was literally a door from Home Depot with some legs screwed into it. The desk that would launch a $1 trillion empire cost $60. But here's where Bezos showed his first stroke of genius. While everyone else was trying to recreate the bookstore experience online, he realized something that seems obvious now, but was revolutionary then. The internet wasn't supposed to be like a physical store. It was supposed to be better than a physical store. Instead of just listing books and hoping people would buy them, Amazon became this weird hybrid of bookstore and personal assistant. They started recommending books based on what other customers bought. They let people write reviews. They sent personalized emails. They made shopping feel like you had a really smart friend who knew exactly what you might like. And the results? Well, in the first month, Amazon sold books to customers in all 50 states and 45 countries, from a garage, without any advertising. Just word of mouth spreading like wildfire because people had never experienced anything like this before. But Bezos wasn't satisfied with just being the best online bookstore. While his competitors were celebrating their success in the book market, he was already plotting something much bigger. He had this vision that Amazon wouldn't just sell books. Amazon would sell everything. And I mean everything. This is where things get really interesting, because what Bezos did next goes against everything they teach you in business school. Conventional wisdom says you focus on one thing, get really good at it, dominate that market, then maybe expand. Bezos looked at conventional wisdom and basically said, yeah, that's cute, but I'm going to do the exact opposite. In 1998, just 4 years after starting with books, Amazon expanded into music and movies, then toys and electronics, then tools and kitchen gadgets, then clothes and jewelry, then literally everything else you can think of. Each expansion seemed crazy to industry experts. How could an online bookstore compete with Tower Records, or Toys R Us, or Sears? But here's what the experts missed. Amazon wasn't trying to be a better bookstore, or a better music store, or a better toy store. Amazon was building something completely different. They were building the infrastructure for a world where you could buy anything, anytime, from anywhere, and have it show up at your door faster than you thought possible. While traditional retailers were thinking about stores and inventory and shelf space, Bezos was thinking about data and logistics and customer experience. He realized that in the internet age, the company with the best technology and the fastest delivery would win everything. Not just books, everything. And this is where we see the first glimpse of just how radically different Bezos thought about business. Most companies try to make as much profit as possible as quickly as possible. Amazon did the opposite. For years, Amazon barely made any profit at all. Sometimes they actually lost money. Investors thought Bezos had lost his mind, but Bezos was playing a different game entirely. While his competitors were optimizing for quarterly earnings, he was optimizing for world domination. Every dollar that could have been profit got reinvested into making Amazon faster, bigger, and more convenient. New warehouses, better technology, more product categories, lower prices. The strategy was simple but brutal. Grow so fast and get so good at delivery that no competitor could catch up. Make it so convenient to shop on Amazon that customers wouldn't even consider going anywhere else. And then, once you've captured the entire market, the profits will take care of themselves. This approach required something that most business leaders don't have: the ability to think decades into the future while everyone else is worried about next quarter. Bezos wasn't just building a bookstore or even an online store. He was building the operating system for global commerce. And speaking of thinking decades ahead, we haven't even gotten to the part where Bezos accidentally invented cloud computing, revolutionized reading with the Kindle, transformed entertainment with Prime Video, and, oh yeah, decided that Earth wasn't big enough for his ambitions, so he started a space company too. But before we get to all that world-changing stuff, we need to understand how Amazon went from selling books out of a garage to becoming the everything store that basically runs the internet. Because that transformation didn't just change retail. It changed how we live, work, and think about what's possible. And trust me, the story is just getting started. By the early 2000s, something incredible was happening behind the scenes at Amazon that nobody really understood yet. While everyone was focused on the fact that you could now buy practically anything online, Bezos was quietly solving a problem that would accidentally change the entire internet forever. Here's the thing. To handle millions of customers buying millions of products, Amazon had to build these massive computer systems. I'm talking about server farms the size of football fields, all working together to make sure that when you clicked buy, everything worked perfectly. But here's where it gets interesting. Amazon built their system so well, so efficiently, that they had way more computing power than they actually needed. Most companies would just shrug and call it a day. Not Bezos. He looked at all this extra computing power and had one of those light bulb moments that literally reshape reality. What if other companies could rent Amazon's computer systems instead of building their own? What if you could start a tech company without buying a single server? And just like that, Amazon Web Services was born. AWS started as a side project, a way to make some extra money from unused computer capacity. Today, it powers Netflix, Spotify, Instagram, and basically half the websites you visit every day. That little side project now makes more money than Amazon's entire retail business did for most of its existence. But here's the crazy part. AWS didn't just make Amazon money. It democratized technology in a way that nobody saw coming. Suddenly, 2 kids in a dorm room could launch a global app without needing millions of dollars for servers. Startups could scale from 0 to millions of users overnight. The entire tech boom of the 2010s happened because Bezos accidentally made it cheap and easy for anyone to build the next big thing. Think about that for a second. Bezos was trying to sell more books online, and he accidentally created the infrastructure that would power the entire modern internet economy. Instagram, Uber, Airbnb, TikTok, they all exist because of systems that Amazon built to sell you toothpaste and tennis shoes. Meanwhile, back in retail land, Amazon was facing a problem that would have killed most companies. By 2005, they were selling everything under the sun, but they were still losing customers to physical stores for one simple reason: shipping costs. Yeah, you could buy anything on Amazon, but by the time you paid for shipping, it often cost more than just driving to the mall. Bezos looked at this problem and came up with a solution that was so audacious, so seemingly impossible, that his own team thought he'd completely lost it. What if shipping wasn't something customers paid for? What if shipping was just free? Not free as in hidden in the product price, actually free. Like, pay us a flat fee once a year, and we'll ship you unlimited stuff for free. Oh, and while we're at it, we'll throw in unlimited streaming video and music too. Because why not? This was Amazon Prime, and when it launched in 2005, charging $79 a year for unlimited free shipping, retail experts predicted it would bankrupt the company. The math seemed impossible. How do you make money giving away the thing that makes you money? But Bezos understood something about human psychology that his competitors missed. Once people pay that annual fee, Amazon becomes their default for everything. Need batteries? Amazon. Dog food? Amazon. Birthday present? Amazon. You've already paid for the shipping, so why shop anywhere else? Prime turned Amazon customers into Amazon addicts. And the more stuff they bought, the more data Amazon collected about what people wanted when they wanted it and how much they were willing to pay. That data became a crystal ball that let Amazon predict demand better than any retailer in history. But we still haven't gotten to the part where Bezos decided to completely destroy the book publishing industry and rebuild it from scratch. In 2007, while Apple was busy revolutionizing phones with the iPhone, Bezos was quietly working on something that would do to books what iTunes did to music. The Kindle wasn't just an e-reader. It was a complete rethinking of what a book could be. Instead of going to a store to buy a physical book, you could download any book instantly, anywhere, anytime. No shipping, no waiting, no running out of shelf space. Just instant access to virtually every book ever written. Traditional publishers hated it. Bookstores panicked. But readers fell in love immediately. The ability to carry an entire library in your pocket, to buy a book at 2 a.m. while lying in bed, to adjust the text size, to look up definitions instantly, it was magic. And just like with everything else Bezos touched, the Kindle wasn't just about making reading more convenient. It was about collecting data on how people read. What books did they finish? Where did they stop reading? What passages did they highlight? Amazon now knew more about reading habits than publishers who had been in business for centuries. That data became a weapon. Amazon started publishing their own books, targeting exactly the genres and topics that their data showed people wanted most. They could predict bestsellers before they were even written. Traditional publishers found themselves competing against a company that knew their customers better than they did. But even while Amazon was revolutionizing retail, cloud computing, and publishing, Bezos was getting restless. By 2010, Amazon was already one of the most valuable companies in the world. Most people would have called it a day, maybe bought a yacht, played some golf? Not Bezos. He looked at everything Amazon had accomplished and basically said, "Cool, now let's do space." Because apparently conquering Earth wasn't challenging enough. Blue Origin started as Bezos' personal space hobby, the kind of side project that only makes sense when you have more money than most countries. While SpaceX was grabbing headlines with flashy rocket launches, Blue Origin was quietly working on the boring stuff. Reliable engines, reusable rockets, the infrastructure needed to make space travel routine instead of spectacular. And here's where we see the same pattern that made Amazon successful. While his competitors were optimizing for headlines and short-term wins, Bezos was building for the long term. His vision wasn't just about taking rich people on joyrides to space. It was about making space accessible for manufacturing, research, and eventually, human civilization. The guy who started by selling books online was now literally reaching for the stars. And knowing Bezos, he probably had a plan to deliver packages there too. But space was just the beginning. While Blue Origin was figuring out how to make rockets reusable, Bezos was already eyeing his next target, Hollywood. Because apparently disrupting retail, technology, publishing, and aerospace wasn't enough. He wanted to take on entertainment too. In 2010, Amazon quietly launched something called Amazon Studios. Most people barely noticed. After all, why would an online bookstore want to make movies and TV shows? But remember, this is the same guy who thought selling everything online made perfect sense when everyone else was still figuring out email. The entertainment industry laughed at first. Studios had been making content for decades. What could some tech guy possibly know about storytelling? But Bezos wasn't trying to beat Hollywood at their own game. He was changing the rules entirely. Instead of hoping people would pay to watch individual movies or shows, Amazon bundled video streaming with Prime membership. Suddenly, watching Amazon's content wasn't an extra cost. It was just a bonus for the shipping membership you already had. Customers got free entertainment, and Amazon got more reasons for you to never cancel Prime. But here's where it gets really clever. While Netflix was spending billions licensing other people's content, Amazon was using their endless data to figure out exactly what shows would work. They knew what books Prime members were buying, what products they were purchasing, what reviews they were writing. All that data painted a detailed picture of what different audiences actually wanted to watch. The result? Shows like The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, The Boys, and the Lord of the Rings series. Amazon wasn't just throwing money at random projects. They were using artificial intelligence to predict hits before the first scene was ever filmed. And speaking of artificial intelligence, we need to talk about probably the most mind-blowing thing Bezos unleashed on the world. In 2014, Amazon released this little cylindrical device called the Echo. It looked like a fancy Bluetooth speaker. It was actually the Trojan horse that would put Amazon inside every home in America. Alexa started simple: play music, set timers, answer basic questions. But Bezos understood something profound about the future of technology. The next big interface wouldn't be keyboards or touchscreens, it would be voice. And whoever controlled voice would control everything. Within a few years, Alexa could order products from Amazon, control smart home devices, play your favorite shows, even start your car. But more importantly, Alexa was listening, learning your habits, your preferences, your schedule. Amazon wasn't just selling you a smart speaker, they were installing a data collection system directly in your living room. It became one of the fastest selling consumer devices in history. Families couldn't imagine life without their digital assistant. And every conversation, every command, every question was feeding Amazon's artificial intelligence systems, making them smarter and more valuable. So there you have it. From packing books on a concrete garage floor to building the infrastructure that powers half the internet. From accidentally inventing cloud computing to literally shooting for the stars. Jeff Bezos didn't just build a company, he rewired civilization itself. Every time you ask Alexa a question, stream a show, or get same-day delivery, You're living in the world that one guy imagined while writing a business plan in a moving car. And the craziest part? He's probably not done yet.